Hello, so today we're going to be going over how to build a portfolio web page. This portfolio web page, we're going to be building it in such a way that we'll be able to later on integrate your database into it. That way anything that you add to your database will automatically display on your web page, which will be super handy since you won't need to go into your web page and modify any of the code. It will just automatically dynamically change based on the data that you add in. So I want you to go to 000webhost.com. Go ahead and log into the account that you created last week. And if we go down here, click on this link right here, which should open up that home page, that landing page that was created. Next, what I want you to do is I want you to go to Google and I want you to search for brackets. Alright, Brackets is a great code editor. It's a free program that you can just download. It's this first link right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that link and go ahead and download and install this onto your computer. Once you've got it downloaded and installed, I want you to go to your desktop here and I want you to create a folder. We're just going to do new folder and we're going to name this PRG 343. Alright, next we're going to go ahead and open up Brackets on your computer. And I'm going to go to File, I'm going to click on Open Folder, and we're going to find that folder that we just created. So I'm going to click on Desktop, and I'm going to locate that folder that I created, which is this one right here, PRG 343, and we're going to click Open. Now everything that is in that folder is now going to display in this left sidebar. Now since we don't have anything in the folder, it doesn't display anything. But if we right click in here, we can create a new file and we are going to call that file portfolio.html. Alright, now from here we're just going to set up some basic HTML code. Now by this point in your degree you should have taken a few HTML classes, so you should be familiar with it. If you're not, just follow along. I'll be going over everything and explaining what I'm doing. So we're going to do doc type HTML. So it sets it up so it's in an HTML5 format. Set up our HTML tags, and then we're going to set up our head tags. So we've got our opening and our closing tags here, and we'll set up our body as well. Any CSS code or any information about the page will need to go inside the head tags. Anything that will display on the web page or any of the HTML code that you're going to be building that'll be visible is going to go between the body tags here. Alright, so since the title tag is a page information detail, I'll set up our title tags here, and we're going to name this portfolio. Now, if we go back to that folder that we created, so I'm going to go to Desktop, I'm going to go to, where did it go? There we go, PRG343, and I'm just going to double click on portfolio.html. That will automatically open it up in my default browser. In my default browser, we can look at this page, but right now it doesn't show anything, but what it does do is it shows portfolio right here. Whatever you type in here is going to show up right up in here. So that is the title of your page. Goes into the tab. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and set up our style tags. Style tags allow us to write inline CSS code right onto the page. Since we're not going to be creating multiple pages for this class, we're just going to be doing this one. We're just going to put our CSS directly on this page. Alright, so we're going to format our HTML and our body. So we're going to do a margin of 0px. This will set it up so we don't get a white border around our page. So whenever you're building a page for the web, make sure to add that little detail there. Alright, so we're going to create a class we're going to call site wrapper. We're going to add another class we're going to call center section. and another class that we're going to call header. one for body, and one for the footer. What I like to do with my CSS code is any class that is contained within another class is going to be tabbed over. Now, so I had these tabbed over like so. So if we write up the HTML equivalent, so we are going to do div class site wrapper. Make sure you type it in exactly the way you've got it written up here. So I'll need to make sure I have a capital W here. Alright. Alright. And then I'm going to do div class center section. So if you notice, center section is tabbed over from site wrapper, just like we have right up in our CSS. So site wrapper is here, center section is here. And inside our center section, we're going to have our header. Actually, the way we're going to want to set this up, we're probably going to want the header to enclose the center section. So we're going to do it this way. So we're going to do header. Put the center section inside. And then to save a little bit of time, we're just going to go ahead and copy this. And we're going to paste it in 2 more times. And we're going to change this header to body, and this one right here to footer. Alright, so we've got site wrapper that has header, body, and footer, and inside these 3 classes we also have another class called center section. The center section is what's going to make sure that the content that we add to the page is centered on the page. Alright, our header we want, and let's go ahead and put these above this intersection. It's going to be tabbed over like so. Alright. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set it up so we have a black header and a black footer, and the body is going to be white. So we're going to do a background of hashtag or 000, which is black. So if we hover over this right here, it gives us the color. Okay, do the exact same for the footer. Alright. Our center section is what's going to style the content so it's centered on the page. So we're going to do a margin of 0 auto. This first number right here, 0, is for 0 margin for the top and bottom, and auto for the left and right. So it centers the page horizontally by doing so. In order for it to center, though, we need to specify a width for the page. So we're going to do a width of 1,000 pixels. 1,000 pixels is a standard width for a static web page, or a page that doesn't stretch in width or doesn't shrink. Alright. So if we save this, and we go over here and refresh it, we're still not going to see anything, because we've kind of set up the format or the structure for the page, but we don't really have anything in there for us to actually see the header or footer. So what we're going to do is we're going to need a logo. So let's go ahead and add in our href tags. These are the tags that allow us to link to different pages. And we're just going to do a /. Will automatically link you to the home page. Now we're going to add in our image tag. Our image tag will allow us to add in an image. Now, if you've built a logo for yourself, I want you to use that for this website. If you have not created a logo, well, I recommend creating something that you can display. If it's a placeholder, it doesn't really matter, but make sure you've got something there to represent your website, as this portfolio page that we're building is for you. Now, since this is a example that I'm doing here, I'm just going to go ahead and find some random logo on the web. So I'm just going to type in logo, and search for that, go to images, and What logo would I like to use? I'll just use this one. I'll go to View Image, minimize this, I'll drag it onto the desktop, add the .jpg extension, add, so you can see it now. And I'm going to add that to my PRG343 folder. If we open this up, so we've got our portfolio.html file and our JPEG, our image. So I'm going to create a folder inside here that I'm going to call images. I'm going to put this logo, which I'm going to rename to something a little bit shorter, which is called logo. I'm going to put that inside that folder. Alright, so now if I go to brackets, inside brackets we're going to have our images folder that has the logo that I've created. Now that we've got that all set up, we can just type in the name of the folder, which is images, / and logo.jpg. If I save that, and I go to the page that I've been creating, we've got our logo here. Alright. Next, what we want to do is we want to size this logo down a bit. So since this logo is in the header, I'm going to create a class called logo, and we're going to also add that class onto the image. So logo. Alright, so we're going to do a width of, let's say, 100 pixels. Refresh the page. Alright, so we've got our logo right here. It's still pretty big, so I'm going to size it down to, let's say, 80. And then I'm going to add a margin of 5 pixels just so that it's got a little bit of space on the top and bottom. Alright, so I've got a little logo showing up right here. Next, what we want to do is we want to set up our navigation. So we're going to, the next line here, I'm going to add in navigation. And we're going to float this to the right. This will make it so that it will show up on the right side of our header. Type this over. Alright, I'll go in here, div class, navigation. Inside here, we're going to create our buttons for our navigation. So we're going to do div class of nav btn, and we're going to copy this. So we've got one for home, about, portfolio, and contact. Now granted, we're not going to be building a page for about, or for home, or for contact. But if you wanted to at a later date, you'll have your navigation all built to be able to take advantage of that. Alright, so for the home, we're just going to do the /, which links to the home. Then for about, we're going to do /about.php. Portfolio is going to be /portfolio.php. And contact, which will be /contact.php. Alright, so we've got our navigation set up. So if we look over here, we can't really see anything. So the text is going to, by default, already be black. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of styling here. So we've got our nav buttons. Alright, and we are going to do a display inline dash block, vertical, align top. Display inline block will allow your buttons to go side by side, and the vertical align just make sure that they're aligned from the top. Alright, and then we're going to do a color of white, so FFF. Let's go ahead and refresh this. We've got our navigation showing up right here. Now, if you want to be able to see the changes as you're making them, you're going to need to make sure you save this page right here. I'm doing the hotkey of Command S to save my changes as I go. or if you're on a PC, you'd need to do Control S, and then you can just go and refresh this page right here. All right, let's add in a little bit more formatting so that these show up the way we want them to do. All right, so we're going to do a padding of 5px by 20px, and let's do a margin. No margin. Let's do a font size of 20px. Let's go ahead and preview this. All right, it's a little bit bigger. And I want that font to be a tad bigger. So we got 30. All right. Also for our logo, we're going to want to float that to the left. So our logo is being floated, it's being floated to the left, and our navigation is being floated to the right. But however, when we do that, the black header is going to disappear, because when you float something, it kind of takes it outside of the box that it was inside. So to fix that issue, we're just going to do a div class, or maybe do style of clear both. So now if we refresh it, it's got that navigation, that header back in there. All right. Now, if we go to the navigation right here, it's right up on the top, and we really want it more centered. To fix that, we're just going to go to our navigation div that we created, or a class, and we're going to do a margin dash top, and let's try 18 pixels. Let's see how that looks. That looks pretty good. Next, what we want to do is we want to set up a hover effect for this. Okay, so we're going to do nav tn:hover, and we're going to do, let's do a color of just orange, since this logo right here has orange as well as a bunch of other colors. Save that. So now, if I hover over these, they now change in color. So they look like they can be clicked on, but they'll take you somewhere. Next, what we want to do is we want to set up our body. Okay, so for our body, we're just going to add in some padding of 20px, 0px. So now if we were to add in some text here, it will have 20 pixels of padding on the top and bottom, so it's not going to be flush against the header. Now let's go ahead and set up our footer real quick. So we're going to do padding of 20px, 0px on that as well. And we're just going to type in something simple like copyright 2017. Alright, obviously we're not going to see the text until we make it white. So let's go to our center section here, and we're going to do color, hashtag FFF. Alright, now that text shows up right there. Oh, we're formatting it for all center sections. Let's go ahead and take this out and put it right here. Alright, now we can still see the text here, and we can see the text here. And we're just going to go ahead and center this text in the center. So we're going to do a text align of center. Alright, so we've got our header set up and we've got our footer set up. Now we just need to set up the content for our body. Alright, so I'm just going to create a little bit of space here so we can distinctly see what we're going to do in here. So we're just going to type in some code that will kind of give a preview of what the portfolio pieces are going to look like. Now, on the table that we created in our database last week, we created a table that had a title, a description, and an image file name. So we're going to call this artwork for our class. Inside that, we're going to do a div class of art image. I'm going to do another one. Let's div class art title. And one last one that we're going to call art description, or art desk. For a title, we're just going to add something simple like example title, art desk. We're going to just do, this is a sample description for this example artwork. Alright, so if we refresh the page, we've got our title, we've got our description, and we don't have an image showing up at this point. So let's go ahead and just find some random image. So I'm just going to go up here, and I'm going to search for landscape. And I'm just going to use this first image that shows up. It's actually a pretty big image. Let's find something a little bit smaller to work with. Let's go to our tools. We're going to go to size. We're going to go to medium. It should give us a little bit smaller images to work with. And this is a pretty picture. We'll use this one. So I'm going to go to click on View Image, copy this URL right here, and I'm going to go over here inside our art image, and we're going to set up our image tag, image src, and we're going to paste that URL right in there. Alright, so this image is linking directly to the internet. It's not linking to any folders, it's not linking anywhere to our website, and that's just because it's an example image. Next week, as we are setting things up so they're dynamic, we'll make sure that it links to your files. Alright, so if we refresh this, we've got our logo, or we've got our image right here, our title, and our description. Now, the image is showing up really big, so we're going to want to size that down a little bit. Alright, so our body here, we're going to set up our classes for artwork, art image, art title, and art description. Alright. These are all children of the body class here, so these are all tabbed over like so. Alright, so our artwork, we want these to be side by side, so I'm going to do a display of inline dash block, vertical dash align, top, and we're going to set these up so that they're a width of 400 pixels. And we're going to also add a border onto this. We're going to do a border of 1px solid CCC, which is kind of a light gray. Alright, on our art image, I'm going to do art image space image, so this will affect the image that is inside that class. And we're going to do a width of 100%. Now, that 100% is going to be 100 of the 400 pixels of the containing div that it's inside. So we've got this showing up like so. Alright, let's go ahead and add in a little bit of padding to our artwork class. I'm going to do a padding of, let's say, 20 pixels. So we'll refresh that. We've got our padding on corners there. Let's change that to 10. 20 looks like quite a bit there. Alright, now we've got our title. So our art title, we're going to give that, let's say, a font size of 25 pixels and a font weight of 700. So this should make it a bit thicker as well. Alright, so we've got our title and we've got our description. Now, whenever you do a title, you generally want to do the line height so it's so the text and everything is separated from it a bit. So we're going to do a line height of, let's say, 40 pixels and see how that looks. That's pretty decent. Let's even try 50. Let's see what 10 pixels does. Yeah, we could possibly work with that. Alright, now we've got our description, our title, and I'm going to change that line height to 40 again. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy this code that we created for this artwork. And we're going to paste it below a few times. So we've got 4 iterations of it. Alright, now that we've got multiple showing up, we can see that the spacing between them is a little bit off, that they're like really, really close to each other. And we want to go ahead and fix that. Alright, so we're going to go to our artwork, and we're going to go ahead and add a margin onto it. Now I like to think of the margin tag as kind of like this force field, or this this magnetic barrier that you're creating that's kind of pushing things away from each other. So if we do a margin of 20 pixels, it's going to push things apart. So we've got this nice equal distance going on right here. And let's go ahead and do a text align center with these. That way these are kind of centered on the page. Now, depending on what we want to do for this, we could have the titles here aligned in the center as well as the description. But if you've got a fairly long description, it would look a little bit weird if the description was to be centered. So you might want to align those to the left, but that depends on what type of information you end up adding to your portfolio. For now, we're going to keep it like this. Alright, so that is pretty much the your portfolio page. However, we are going to add in just another tweak. We're going to go ahead and change the fonts. The font looks a little bit nicer. So we're going to go to Google again. So we're going to type in google.com/fonts. So these are Google fonts. I'll wait for the page to load. There we go. These are Google fonts that are free to use. And Google has hundreds of them that we can use, which looks really nice. Alright, now we want to use a professional font, so we're going to do Open Sans. So we're going to use this font right here, so we're just going to click on the add here. And we're going to use another one called Chalk. I think it's called Chalk Duster. No. Alright, we're just going to uncheck these. We're just going to keep handwriting. I'm going to scroll down. Permanent marker. And we're going to go ahead and add that one in. Now, you'll notice as we click on the different fonts that we want to use, that this right here, this little bottom bar, updates. So if we click on it, it shows the 2 different fonts that we've selected that we want to use for our website. So we've got Permanent Marker and we've got Open Sans. Now, the nice thing about Open Sans is it has a lot of different font weights to work with. Permanent Marker, not so much. It's just got this one weight. But Open Sans, we've got 300, we've got 400, we've got 700. Those are the 3 that we're going to use. But we're going to leave all these other ones out. Because with each one you add in, it makes your page load a little bit smaller. In fact, let's even uncheck 300 just to make things a little bit faster. We're just going to use 400 and 700. Alright, now we're going to click on our embed icon right here. And it already generates all of the code that we need to do this, which is super nice. Makes things very easy. So I'm going to just copy this link right here. Make sure you have the standard tab clicked on. So I'm going to copy this, go to our website, and right below our title tag, we're going to paste that in. Like so. Now, all we need to do is we can just copy this font family here. We'll paste that here on the HTML body. That will make it so it's the default font for our website. So if we go to preview our portfolio page and refresh it, you'll notice that it is now using the new font that we've specified. Now we want to overwrite the default font for the header here, our navigation, as well as our title. So I'm going to go back to our Google Fonts, and we're going to grab that second one, which is for the permanent marker. Alright, so for navigation, we want to use this font. So we added it to our navigation class here. And we also want to use it for our art title. So we're going to just add that over here. So save our changes, go back to Portfolio, and refresh it. And it just kind of spruces up your website, makes things just look a little bit more fun. Not so generic. And looking at these, I think I am going to align these to the left. So I'm going to go to my artwork class we created here, and I'm going to add the text align left. So everything inside the artwork class is now going to be aligned to the left side. Alright, now that we've got our page built, let's go ahead and upload this to the web. So we're going to go ahead and minimize this. And close down these tabs that we don't need anymore. Alright. So now if we click on File Manager, we can now click on Upload Files Now. Give it a second to load. And it takes us to this page where we can now start uploading files for our website. Now this would be our images, these would be our portfolio page that we created. So let's go ahead and open up brackets again. Now we named our page portfolio.html. We named it .html so that we could preview it as we were building it. But now that we've got everything built, we're going to go ahead and rename it. So I'm going to go to Rename. And we're going to change that extension from .html to .php. Once we've done that, let's go ahead and minimize that. Alright, here's the images, or here's the files that we've created. We've got our images folder that's got our logo, and we've got our portfolio page. And now we're just going to select both of these, and I'm going to drag these over, and then we'll upload them. So click Upload. And it goes ahead and adds them all in there. Make sure that you have the public_HTML folder selected, so that way when you upload everything, it will show up where it needs to be. Now if we go back to our File Manager, and we'll click on this link right here, this will take you to your website. And it will show all of the different files that you've created and added to your site. Now if we click on the portfolio.php, we will pull up the page that we created just now. This is live on the web. This can be accessible or viewed by anybody. And yeah, this is everything that we're going to be covering for tonight. For our next class, we are going to be going over how to integrate the database into this page, and so that this content that we have right here, which is static, will then become dynamic. All right, what I want you to turn in, so if you go, I want you to copy this URL right here for your portfolio page, and I want you to submit that to Canvas. From there, I should be able to take a look at the code and verify that you've got everything typed up correctly. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call or send me a text or an email. Thank you, and have a good night.